Alright, what's going on, guys? Try back again. Here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a video updating my thoughts on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now that we've seen the first 3 episodes. Okay, so this is not going to be a video review per se of a particular episode like I usually do with a lot of shows where I will review it one episode at a time. I did a review for the first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I talked about how I thought the premiere was and that I thought it was pretty good. Not great, not horrible, but just pretty good. Now, I've watched the next 2 episodes, episode 2, episode 3, or as much of it as I could sit through, pretty much. And I gotta say with the show, just to sum it all up, I'm basically dropping it. The premiere was okay. It was one of those that looked really good in the trailer, I think. But for me personally, even as someone who's a big fan of Marvel and DC, I was kind of a little bit from the get-go, a little bit worried about the concept of the show, because it's like, okay, in Marvel Comics, right? If you're going to go and you're going to buy a Marvel comic, uh, you know, which one are you going to buy? What are you more interested in? Are you going to buy an Avengers comic book? Are you going to buy an X-Men comic book or one of those characters in their own series or something of the sort? Are you going to want to watch or buy a comic book about S.H.I.E.L.D. by themselves and the agents that are basically background characters that are not even really fleshed out in the comic books? Are you going to want to buy a comic book based off of just those characters, those background characters that are really don't have much substance and are pretty one-dimensional and not all that interesting, any of them? None of them have superpowers. They may be highly skilled, but they're regular humans. It's sort of like watching or reading a comic book about, not comic book characters, like non-superpowered characters. The TV series, for me anyway, is sort of like a TV show version of that. In concept, it sounds good to make a TV series based off the Avengers, and Phil Coulson is a good choice of a character to be in that. But the characters around him, all of the characters around him, Sky, the rest, all the other agents, basically, Ward, all of them. Ward's okay, but all of them are almost completely unlikable. Even as the first, at least for me anyway, even after the first 2 episodes, Ward is okay. Sky is probably the next most fleshed out character, but I don't really understand why she's even there. She's like this super hacker, but she hasn't done anything really in the show that benefits them as part of their team, or just, oh man, the characters themselves in this series in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know we're only 3 episodes in, but I definitely want to see more character development than this and more backstory about who they are, get a better sense of who these characters are and what they're about than what we have, which is basically, for the most part, that they're just S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and, I don't know, and they're just not that. There's really nothing about them that stands out. There's nothing special about them. They're just like, regular S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. It's like, this, this is, for me anyway, this is not interesting. This is really not interesting. So I did the first review, and I was debating reviewing some more of the episodes, basically, but to be honest with you, it's for me personally, it's not something that that I'm really getting that into after watching the first 3 episodes. There have been some really cool parts. A lot of it is some of the jokes are really funny. The special effects are okay. We saw in the 3rd episode there was some invisible gravitational pulls and things like that that were kind of cool with the effects that were pretty good to see. But again, there's no superpowered hero characters. They're all underpowered. They're all regular humans, and I don't know. It's like a comic book television series without any kind of superpowers aside from super tech, which at this point, from watching the show after a couple episodes, is making me sick to see all the super tech. It's just one thing after another with more and more super tech and more super tech. and it's just completely unbelievable, and at the same time, it's just, oh man, I just cannot get into it. So minor spoilers, cool part in the second episode when we got to see Samuel L. Jackson, and he appeared for a quick minute. It was a nice funny line at the end, and I did enjoy that in the second one. But I mean, aside from that, it's like, okay, you got Coulson, he's cool, or whether or not he's actually Coulson or if he's a life model decor or whatever the case may be, whatever, I don't care. And then all these other characters. For me personally, it's like, because I like the Avengers so much, I want to like this series, I want to enjoy it, I want to watch it and follow it every week, but for me, it's painfully mediocre. Painfully mediocre. It's like, I feel like I wish it was better than it is. You know, I wish these characters were more interesting than they are. Aside from Coulson, you know, and Ward being a tough guy that beats people up, which is okay. It's kind of cool to see. It's not bad. Sky is okay. You know, aside from that, it's like, that's it. That's it. That's all they got. You know, that's all they got for this series that's supposed to come off the tail end of the Avengers. That's gonna, you know, that is Avengers worthy. Is it? You know, like, is that something that people really want to see after watching something as great as the Avengers, watching something as underpowered and, you know, as much technological superpowers as you can imagine, with just these characters that are completely underdeveloped and not that interesting. Man, yeah. So basically, you know, I'm going to keep trying to like the show. I'll probably check out next week's episode and, again, try to like it more because, you know, I do want to, because there may be some tie-ins to the Avengers 2. There may be some things they could do in terms of that in the future that would be cool to see. And it'd be like, when watching Avengers 2, it'd be like, oh, you know, I remember that from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That'd be cool. But, man, is it just... It's tough. It's tough for me to sit through it right now. It's like, man, these characters are so just bland, so not interesting. Even the villains, too. Like, the villains are like, oh my gosh, come on, man. Just not interesting at all. Anyway, those are my thoughts on it. You know, some of you guys out there do like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You're watching every week. You look forward to it and you enjoy it. I don't mean to hate on it or anything like that. I don't mean to spoil it for you or make it sound like, you know, the show is, you know, totally off and should be canceled or whatever. But, man, we got to see something from this show. They got to show us something. Aside from the fact that we've got Coulson, we've got the super tech, and it's in the Marvel Universe riding off the coattails of the Avengers, got to show us something, man. We got to see something interesting from their team. And not just the villains, but their team has to do something like... so bland, so bland. Anyway, pretty much dropping it. Probably won't do any more videos on it unless the show really changes around and one of the future episodes is really good. Right now, I'm just not impressed, and the ratings have fallen. They're not totally in cancellation range, but if it keeps up like this, I wouldn't be surprised if it did get canceled. So, anyway, I'll call it here. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. This is Trav. I'm saying peace.